No. Need to purchase something but don't have cash? Writing a check is a quick and easy way to pay for things. Writing a check is an important life skill, and today I'm going to teach you how to do so. First, I'll explain the importance of checks and what they are commonly used for, and then I'll tell you about all the different kinds of checks, and then I'll show you how to actually write the check. Now I'll begin teaching you about checks. One reason checks are important is because you don't have to carry a lot of cash. And not all businesses, such as small businesses, can afford the processing fees required to accept debit cards. Checks are also convenient because you can send them in the mail. When you write a check, your bank captures the front and the back of the check. So that way if someone says you didn't pay them or your payment didn't go through, you'll have proof that you sent the check and that it was processed. Finally, a check is important because you can give a check to anyone. If you owe someone money, you can just write them a check. You can't do that with a debit card. What are checks used for? Most people use checks to avoid carrying cash. A lot of people use checks to pay bills because you can mail them and you don't have to go to town or use technology. And some people just use checks for everyday use, like at the gas station. There are many different kinds of checks. There's personal checks, barrier checks, certified checks, cashier's checks, traveler's checks, and money orders. The most common kind of check is a personal check. The personal check is payable only to the individual who is listed on the check. The account holder is responsible for the available funds that cover the check. Personal checks are very common. The barrier check is a check payable to anyone who presents the check. The check is pretty much considered as cash. You don't have to name anyone, and this person can take the check to the bank and receive money without having to get into any other personal accounts. A certified check is a check issued by a bank after it's determined that there's enough funds in the owner's account to cover the amount on the check. A cashier's check is issued by banks. A cashier's check is usually used to pay off loans. This promise is made by the bank and not by the person using the check. This type of check is guaranteed and often treated the same as cash. The bank will debit your account or you can pay in cash for the check. The check is written by the financial institution and signed by the institution's cashier or manager. This check is also known as an official check, treasurer's check, or manager's check. A traveler's check is used when traveling. A traveler's check is in any denomination in all currencies. These are accepted the same as cash. In most hotels and merchants, you can use it against loss, theft, or damage or destruction. The next type of check is a money order. A money order is a type of check that has been purchased at either the U.S. Post Office or a financial institution. A money order is like prepaid cash. You do not need to have an account with a financial institution in order to get a cash money order. Now that I have gave you some information about checks, I'm going to show you how to actually write the check. There are 6 simple steps to writing a check. The first step is to date the check. When you date the check, you look at the line at the top right corner. You then write the month, the day, and the year. The next step of the check is to write how much the check is worth. Where you write the worth of the check is on the second line. At the end of the line, it'll say dollars. When you write this, you will write an actual print and actually write the words. When you write the words, you then write and then you write the cents over 100. And when you write the cents, you do those in actual numbers. After you finish writing that line, you go to the little box with the dollar sign beside it, and you write the number out. The next step of writing a check is writing who to pay the check to. That is the first line on the check. You can either write the person's name, or you can write, if you're paying like to a gas station or something, you can write the gas station down on there, or you can leave that blank if you're giving it to a certain person. At the bottom of the check is on the left is what the check is used for. For instance, if you were paying a bill or your insurance, you would write that down there. So you could write insurance. The last and final step of the check is to sign it. You sign the check in the very bottom corner. Now that you can write a check and you will no longer have to worry about carrying lots of cash, you can now write a check and have a good life skill to help you in many life situations. Remember to use each check for its correct purpose. Knowing how to write a check is a skill that everyone should have, and although many people still use debit cards, you never know when writing a check may become useful. I recently took out a loan and had to purchase a cashier's check, and I am glad that I had the background knowledge to do so. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I am happy to answer any questions. Now I'm going to list 3 sources. My 3 sources were the 5 easy steps to writing a check, 5 reasons checks will never die, and what are the different types of checks.